Are you struggling to eat enough protein on the carnivore diet? If so, this video just might help you. So, one of the biggest things that I hear from people is that I just can't eat enough to get enough protein. I get full pretty quickly, whether it's one setting or just for the entire day. They say it's really hard to eat the amount of protein that I should be eating on the carnivore diet. And this seems to be something that you hear a lot from females, but you also hear it from males as well. So, I am going to talk to you today about something that can help you to eat more protein. Essentially, what it does, without getting into technical terms, is it allows you to eat more in a single setting where you just seem to be hungry for a longer period of time. And I think that when you're eating in a day, it will probably help you to eat again later in the day if you're still hungry. All right. So, what I am talking about here is adding some fermented foods to your meal. And there's a certain way that you need to do this. But this has definitely worked for me. I have been doing fermented foods now for about 6 months, and I've noticed a big difference that I do seem to eat more now. I'm hungrier than I was before. And basically, fermented foods, they have um, healthy, beneficial microbes that really kind of heal your gut, but also they make your gut want more of that good food, right? So you're going to be eating that fermented foods with your meat, with the protein, and you're going to chew it up together. And that way, as it's going down and getting digested, it's all together getting digested, the microbes with the meat and so forth. And it's going to get you to want to eat more. And this is how you're going to be able to eat increased protein. Now, there's a little bit more technicalness around this that I'm not going to get into because I'm not a doctor or a scientist. But I can tell you, for instance, Dr. Sean O'Mara has put out videos talking about this. And like I said, I've experienced it myself with eating fermented foods over the last 6 months. Dr. Sean O'Mara talks about how important it is as you get older to make sure that you're eating enough protein. And he was finding that it was harder to, eat enough protein. So I don't know what it was, 10, 12, 13 years ago, wherever it was, he started doing the microbes as well and went to a carnivore diet, that type of thing, where he was upping his protein. And he can even tell you the research behind it all. But it does have to do with the microbes in your gut, that it allows you to eat more meat. So in his case, on the days that he's not fasting and he's eating, he's able to eat more protein, get more protein intake, which is very good for your muscles and so forth, which is really needed as you are aging and you're getting older, right? Um, and so I did some more further research on this, but I've also experienced it myself. I have noticed that I have been wanting to eat more. And this is good for people, not just if you're, you know, not getting enough protein, but if you're just not, if you're under eating altogether because you're just not feeling hungry. There are people that say that on a carnivore diet, like, I'm just not that hungry, so I don't eat for days. And it's one thing if you're fasting, but on the days you're eating, you want to get that good amount of protein. And if you're eating the, um, not the microbes, but if you're eating the fermented foods, which have the microbes in them, then you're going to get that point that you're going to be hungrier. Now, it might not happen right away. It could take a couple weeks. I think it took probably a few weeks for me, 3 weeks maybe, or something like that, before I really started to notice, hey, I'm feeling hungrier than I used to. I'm able to eat more in a setting. And that's one of the biggest things I notice is I used to eat about a pound to maybe a pound and a half of beef in a setting, and I was full. And I'm a pretty big guy, so some of you are saying, well, I can't eat that much in a setting, but it's okay. But I was full. Now that I have been doing the fermented foods for a while, I can easily go to 2 pounds of meat in a setting. So it makes a big difference, and it allows you to eat more protein, which, again, as we age, is a good thing for us. I'm getting up there in age now. I'm almost 52 years old, and eating getting more protein is going to be good for my muscle strength, my bone structure and so forth. And those are things that you start to lose as you start aging. So it's a key for me. So that's something that I think you should try is some fermented foods. What fermented foods? You can stay completely to the animal based side of things, right? You can do things like fermented cheeses. So certain cheeses that are aged, blue cheese, different things like that. You just find all kinds of them out there that will work that are fermented. So you can do that. You can do kefir. You can do yogurt. You could do cottage cheese. Good cultured cottage cheese seems to be the best brand for that. Um, if you're kind of into the cottage cheesy thing and you can't find good cultured cottage cheese, maybe you can find farmer's cheese. Farmer's cheese, look at the ingredients. You want to look for the active, live and active cultures in any of these fermented foods. You want to make sure they have live and active cultures. Some of them will even say how many different ones they have. That's what you're looking for. So you're looking for things in the refrigerated aisle. Try and get the stuff further back on the shelf that's not exposed to the light. That you'll have more of those live and active cultures that are still alive, which is a good thing. And you're just going to take a little bit of each of these things. If you're okay with some other foods that are fermented, like I will do sauerkraut sometimes. I just recently started doing some kimchi. They come from cabbage. They're fermented cabbage. Kimchi also is some anchovies, I believe, some sort of fish. But the thing about it is because they're fermented, all the plant toxins has been removed. The carbohydrates have been removed. There may still be a slight little bit of carbohydrate left. Most of the time, though, it's removed. Eggs have a slight little bit of carbohydrate, so it's not that bad of a deal in that perspective. And again, the plant toxins were removed by the fermentation process. So you can take those things and you can add them in. So I've done this more recently where I will do I did some kimchi. I did some sauerkraut. I did some blue cheese. I did some farmer's cheese. And I did some yogurt, a really good whole milk yogurt that was pretty clean. And, I did those things. And it was just, the little bit that I had with my steak. I actually had steak and a couple burger patties because I'm eating a good amount of protein with this. And every bite I would dip in to those different fermented foods a little bit, so I'd have some on that meat and I'd chew the meat in my mouth. And so here's an interesting thing: your mouth tends to have some um some live microbes already in them, right? Some stuff in there that aren't necessarily the good ones. They're kind of the bad ones a little bit. So you want to chew with the meat with the fermented foods so that you're getting the good microbes in there, and that's going to basically take care of the problem with the bad ones in your mouth that people just have. That's why you might get bad breath or something. If you don't get necessarily bad breath, that's the thing. Like that's the biggest area for like germs and so forth is a person's mouth. But anyway, so you get these good um, microbes mixing with the meat, chewing it up nicely, then swallow it down. It goes down, digests. Your gut feels so much better. You start feeling better. And the really good thing is you're getting that more protein. So go ahead and give this a hack.